How could I possibly be expected to handle school in a day like this?
You're listening to the writeoutdoors.com podcast.
No, baby, you dig it the most.
A podcast about hunting, fishing, and everything else outdoors.
When this baby hits 88 miles per hour, you're gonna see some serious...
I'm your host, Ron Hustvedt, outdoor writer, photographer, and founder of writeoutdoors.com.
Well, that right there may be the reason you've had difficulty finding gainful employment.
Covering tips and tactics from the outdoors experts, both in the studio and out in the field.
Damn, we're in a tight spot.
So without further ado, here's the show.
That would be great.
Thank you for that lovely tune. That funky music will drive us until the dawn.
Greetings, everybody, and thanks for tuning in to another episode of the writeoutdoors.com podcast. I am your host, Ron Hustvedt. Today's show is a bit of a freak show, mostly because we're talking with a deer hunter who shot a fanged deer this past season. As far as I can figure, it's the first known case in Minnesota, and one of only a handful ever recorded in the history of North American hunting. Al Ladd is the fella's name, and it's an interesting story for sure. We also have a Mille Lacs Lake fishing report from fishing guide Tony Roach, who actually filed this report for our Right Outdoors on the ice. He runs Roach's guide service out of Hunters Point on the east side of Mille Lacs and is always on the fish. Well, let's get going with that freak show story about the fanged deer taken near Hinckley. And I'm not kidding when I say this deer had fangs. I interviewed Al Ladd, the guy who shot the deer, talked to him on the phone the other day, and this was actually for an article that's going to be in the January 22nd edition of Minnesota's Outdoor News. But here we go with a chit-chat with Al Ladd from Hinckley, Minnesota.
Hello.
Yeah, hi, is Al around?
Just a minute. Hello?
Hey, Al.
Yeah.
Hey, this is Ron Hustvedt calling from Outdoor News. How you doing?
Good.
Good. Wanted to chat with you. I gotten an email. I'm not sure if you had sent it or somebody that you know had sent it, but it's a photograph of the deer that you shot recently that has the fangs.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't really discover he had fangs till we loaded him up in the truck, and my brother said he's probably 4.5 years old. I go, he's probably 3.5. I lifted up his lips there. I said, he's got fangs.
You thought you stumbled on a vampire deer, huh?
Yeah.
So what did you do with it from there? Did you talk around town?
Yeah. I've asked, everybody thought I was crazy, I talked to some of the DNR guys. I had them up there, and some of the retired ones, a lot of them never ever heard of it,
Right.
And one guy I worked with had a 2010 whitetail almanac, and there was one that was shot in central Wisconsin in '08 that was pretty much a carbon copy of it. And they went back to, they said it's a carryover from the prehistoric times. That they said northern United States is like 1 in a million, but like South America's got quite a few. Yeah, I don't know if there's been one in Minnesota. Nobody knows. Everybody's researched. I've talked to a lot of people, and nobody knows much about them. No, my daughters both checked. The only thing to find is the same buck, the one in Wisconsin from last year. Nobody knows much about it. It's kind of rare.
Well, tell me about the story of how you got it.
Oh, this one we did on a drive at my mom's place where I grew up, And I usually drive. The water was deep, and that day I got to sit. It was like the first time in, 11 or 13 years, and he come just burning by. There was 5 in a bunch. There was one buck. I didn't, we could shoot anything. My eye just kind of caught him. He was just smoking when he come by, and I hit him right away, but we didn't know anything until after he gutted him out, loaded him up, and then after that, I'm a stainless welder is what I do, so I made my own oval cooking pot, did him on the grill, and cooked his head for a European mount, And his fangs got loose, when I got about halfway done with the process. And then I took him out and labeled left and right, and I whitened his skull, and then I glued him back in. And so I'm designing my own arrowhead plaques. I didn't like any of them out. They're going to be out of curly maple to do them on.
Okay.
One buddy of mine, he's a taxidermist. He's been at the Deer Classic for 25 years. I got a hold of him, and I figured somebody'd have one at the Deer Classic, and he'd never ever heard of it. So he stopped right away and looked at me, geez, Al, I ain't never seen nothing like this. That's what everybody says. It's either that or you're full of or...
Yeah, exactly. Well, who's your buddy?
Kevin Ellis.
Okay, and he'll be at the Deer Classic again this year?
Yep,
okay.
Yeah, he usually does some shows. He does a lot of head mounts and bear and stuff like that. He usually does pretty good.
Okay.
No, I grew up, he was from up by Cloverdale here. That's where I'm originally from. They call it Hinckley, but it's a little town where I come from.
You have some nice deer up in that area, I know.
Yeah,
sure.
They were kind of slim going this year. Well, it was tough everywhere, but now they killed too many the last few years. And...
So, how do you usually do? You usually get a deer every year, or has it been
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, both my daughters and my wife hunt. We each got just one this year. That was, we didn't get any other bonus. I knew there wasn't many. But...
Right. How far of a shot was it?
No, about 25 yards.
Okay, all right.
Close.
Yeah. Yeah, pretty darn close, that's right.
Yeah, he was smoking, though. He was only about 2.5 feet high, I swear, when he was going. But...
Well, what are the plans for the mount? Did he get a special spot in the wall, or is it gonna go to the Deer Classic? You think with your buddy?
I don't know. He's probably worth a lot of money, but I don't know.
Yeah, it's a collector's item for sure. Like
yeah, I don't know. I've had him. He's got a lot of miles on him already, but he's pretty cool. I just want to get him done, and he's a nice 8 too. Oh, you got the picture.
Yeah, I've got that picture that was sent on the web. That's
he's
nice.
not no. Everybody thought he'd be some snaggletooth thing. I said, no, he was a 3.5-year-old deer, He was like 175 pounds. He was in good shape, looked normal as could be. They say that a lot of the taxidermists, and everybody else, there's probably a lot more of them that go unnoticed because a lot of them don't protrude through the gum line,
But these were actually protruding through, though, right? You actually...
Yep. I do have some pictures that actually show them. They were sticking out about 1/8 or so, but...
Okay, that's goofy, though, still.
No, I actually took them right up to Sandstone here. It's the DNR headquarters for our area here. I know some of them guys, and the other one is transferred down to Cambridge, but I didn't get to... He knows about it, but he hasn't seen it yet. I took it up there. The whole office just cleared out. I said, well, I can bring him in. That was like 3 weeks ago, one night after work. So they come out there and they go, geez, I've never seen it. I'm going to talk to my boss and see if he's heard anything. And I haven't heard back from him. So obviously he didn't find anything either.
Right, yeah.
Well, if this is the very first one, there's probably some that have never been discovered. That's a lot of them said if they wouldn't have taken them, if you wouldn't take them to a taxidermist, you're not going to have a European mount or just a head mount. If they don't stick to the gums, they'd never see them, It'd go totally unnoticed. That's like the one guy here. He's been retired he was the head DNR for this area. He's been retired for 10 years. I called him one night. He sent me a letter and some more info. But he said, we aged a lot of deer. We never looked at the top,
Teeth.
He had some there. It was from 1941 and 1953. He gave me a copy. They found one in Mexico was the last one, and actually up in New York State. I think it was out of 18,000, they found what the heck was it, like 23 that had fangs in that one in particular area. Huh. But that was 1951.
Well, so there's no concern about the vampire deer of Pine County, right?
No, I think she's pretty rare.
Yeah.
No, a lot of people don't look. I've got a habit since my dad started years ago. We always looked at the teeth. It's the first thing I do when they're fresh, just 'cause,
For the aging purposes?
Yeah, it's just a habit just 'cause.
Right. Yep.
Sometimes they got broken teeth or they, it's kind of funny, but no, I noticed it right away. I said, he's got freaking fangs. My brother goes, oh, bull. I go, no, look at this.
Well, how long have you been hunting, Al? How many years have you been out there hunting?
43.
43, okay. In the same basic woods every year?
Yep, pretty much same area. I grew up there, and we hunt pretty much the same. It's my mom's land board. It sits right down in St. Croix State Park. 3 sides is surrounded by it.
So you've had a few bucks before.
That was my 42nd buck in 43 years, but...
All right, well, I appreciate you chatting with me today, Al. Thanks for telling your story of your fanged buck.
You too. Thanks for calling.
All right, you have a good one.
Have a good weekend.
Well, that's going to do it for our show this time around. Come back, visit soon, send questions. We'd like to put out as many shows as you are willing to listen to, and you can find them all at writeoutdoors.com.